It is the transfer season. We're talking about transfers, imminent and done deals. Who's going where? Who's remaining at the club? Who's the club buying? We're talking about the likes of Gnabry, Ilkay Gundogan, Moises Caicedo, Mohamed Diab, Declan Rice, Romeo Lavia, Kai Havertz, everybody, all these in here. What you need to do is simple, just subscribe. Everyone, and thank you for being part of the Arsenal chapter, and make up and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you do not miss it on whatever we've definitely got to bring to you, as long as it is sports and as long as it is Arsenal related, right about here at the Arsenal chapter with me, your host Abu Karls, as I'm more than dedicated to bringing to you the latest straight as it comes in. We've got quite great news. We definitely have some good news coming in. It is the transfer show right about here, imminent and done deals. If you are interested in knowing what's going on in the camp of Arsenal, all you need to do is simple, subscribe and ring that notification bell so you do not miss it on whatever we've definitely got to bring to you, as long as it is sports and as long as it is Arsenal related, right about here at the Arsenal chapter with me, your host Abu Karls. So let's get the party started. Whom should we start with? Should we start with Gnabry? Should we start with Ilkay Gundogan? Who? Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, who? Anyway, let's start with Ilkay Gundogan. You will remember that Ilkay Gundogan is a German professional football player who plays as a midfielder for the club and country, I would say Manchester City and German. He's definitely a very wonderful one. He's quite a good one, and he is known for helping out his clubs and his club and country when things are not going on quite well. You can always definitely count on Ilkay Gundogan. For some time, he's been linked to the club Arsenal, and we definitely know that things have been going on quite well for the club Arsenal recently, and the fact that Arsenal have finished in the second position, they are in a very good position to get better football players. I mean, right about now, when Mikel Arteta is saying, when he phones up a football player to talk business, he will say, we ended up in the second position. Are you coming to play with us or you're not? So it's something that is good, ending up in the second position. I know many people were not happy about it, about ending up in the second position. But I mean, there are clubs like Chelsea that had horrible seasons. So finishing the second position was a good thing. It wasn't the greatest of things, but it's an appreciable thing, you know. Anyway, Arsenal almost won the Premier League title, but because the squad was not the best, they didn't. It was not the best. It was good, but not the best. And that's why this this summer transfer window is definitely being used. It's going to be used as a big weapon to make sure that they can get good football players. And Ilkay Gundogan is definitely one of them. It will be remembered that there is quite a big number of football clubs that are interested in Ilkay Gundogan. But we've got good news coming in favor of the club Arsenal. As you already know that Ilkay Gundogan, as it stands right about now, Ilkay Gundogan is on international duty, and things definitely have been going on quite well for him. And he's had a press conference where he's been in a press conference where he's been asked about his future and also whether he will be going to Borussia Dortmund, because Borussia Dortmund wants him so bad. And it will be remembered that Arsenal have been in a tight competition with Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and then it's Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, and Arsenal, plus also Manchester City trying to make sure that they can retain him. However, it will be remembered that despite all that, all those clubs that are interested in signing him, it will be remembered that Manchester City had a big chance of signing Ilkay Gundogan, but they didn't. Currently he's a player at Manchester City, but he is running out of contract in just a few days, and he's gonna be a free agent, and that's where every club will be interested in him. Every club is interested in him right about now. But the clubs that are showing a lot of interest are mainly 3 clubs. We can say 4, with Manchester City trying to make sure that they can retain him. But I mean, if Manchester City wanted him, they would have given him a new contract in the last season, because they knew he was going to be going. He could be going. It would be a bit complicated, but he is on form. He's a very good football player. So when he was asked, he definitely said he does not want to play for Borussia Dortmund. He's not interested in going to Europe. When he said he's not interested in going to Europe, that definitely kicks out a few football clubs like Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. Definitely, they are out of the picture. And the sole club that remains in all this is none other than Arsenal. Arsenal are definitely the sole club that could definitely be taking the football player. As you already know, that Arsenal already took 2 of Manchester City's football players, and definitely they have been playing quite well. I mean, look at how Gabriel Jesus played the last season, despite the fact that he had a few injuries. He had an injury that ruined his season, but when he's been on the pitch, he's played brilliantly. He's been a very good football player, and that's the class football player that anybody definitely needs, any club needs. And also the other football player being Alexander Zinchenko. Zinchenko also has been playing quite well. Very wonderful football player. And right about now, the club Arsenal is looking at a swoop again. There's been quite a few rumors about even Joao Cancelo going about a double swoop of Joao Cancelo and Ilkay Gundogan to the club Arsenal. I can't rule it out. I can't rule out a double swoop. It's still possible. Joao Cancelo could be an Arsenal football player. There's still a bit of chance. But right about now, he is not as heavily linked to the club Arsenal as Ilkay Gundogan is. There are very big chances, very big possibilities that Ilkay Gundogan could definitely be having Arsenal as his next stop. We could be seeing Ilkay Gundogan playing for the club Arsenal. If you are Ilkay Gundogan as an Arsenal football player, you can always let us know what you definitely think in the comment section. Give this video a like so that we can know that you definitely want Ilkay Gundogan to be part of the Arsenal squad. Where are you watching from? Which part of the country, which part of the world? Let's get going. Anyway, let's get here to another football player, as Ilkay Gundogan is done. We're done with Ilkay Gundogan. So possibilities of Ilkay Gundogan coming to the club Arsenal, going to the club Arsenal, are definitely very high. Very high. The possibility is quite high. And the fact that Arsenal has also already gone into talks with Ilkay Gundogan about how much they could be giving him per week, definitely that shows you how interesting this transfer is gonna be. I mean, if Arsenal can get that transfer, I mean, everything will be sorted. Everything will be sorted for Ilkay Gundogan and for Arsenal. And possibly, we could definitely be seeing Arsenal not only competing for the Premier League title next season, but also winning the Premier League title next season. And do not forget that Arsenal needs a bigger squad right about now, a bigger and better, because they've got quite a lot of competition. They've got leagues to play in, and also they've got big clubs to play against the next season in the Champions League and also in the Premier League. As you already know that very many clubs are shopping, very many clubs are into this transfer window. If you do not get the best of football players, then definitely you're out of competition for the top 4. But right about now, what Arsenal is looking at is not top 4. Arsenal is looking at taking the Premier League title the coming season. Anyway, that's it. That's what we've got for Ilkay Gundogan. Fingers crossed, Ilkay Gundogan could be an Arsenal football player. Anyway, let's see yet another football player. Let's talk about Moises Caicedo. Moises Caicedo, who is an Ecuadorian professional football player who plays as a defensive midfielder for Ecuador, his national team, and also for Brighton and Hove. He's been a very wonderful player this season. When it comes to Premier League, he's not scored a number of goals, but when it comes to defensive midfield, he's got quite a bit of strength and power, and that's definitely why loads of clubs have been after him. There is something between Moises Caicedo. There's something between Chelsea and Arsenal because of Moises Caicedo. Again, this definitely happened the last January transfer window, and it is happening again. It will be remembered that Arsenal were the first club to see that definitely this gentleman needs to be part of their club. Moises Caicedo was heavily linked to the club Arsenal in the January transfer window, but for some reason Brighton and Hove could not let him go because they had sold quite a big number of football players, and they were not looking at selling yet another football player because that sold the likes of Marc Cucurella and many more. Leandro Trossard, the number was definitely quite big, and right about then they were saying it's not appropriate to let the best defensive midfielder possibly in there to go also. So him as a football player, he definitely needed to move away from the club Brighton and Hove. He needs Champions League football. He needs to be in a better club. And also Brighton and Hove also came out sometime and said we cannot keep a good football player like Moises Caicedo, or it's definitely not something that we always do. We always build talent and give the talent to the biggest of clubs, which is quite okay. And that definitely showed that Moises Caicedo is up for a move away from the club, from the club Brighton and Hove. So, as I was telling you before, there's something between the club Chelsea and Arsenal. Last time, Arsenal identified a few football players. Scouts at Arsenal went over the world, got a few football players, and definitely they thought these are the best and they will do something quite great at the club Arsenal. And when he was in the tabloids, when he was in the news, Chelsea, Todd Bowley definitely had, the co-owner of Chelsea is called Todd Bowley, he definitely had to hijack these football players, and one of them, and the biggest football player that was meant to be an Arsenal football player, I must say 100%, was Mikhail Mudryk. Mikhail Mudryk, who was by then a Shakhtar Donetsk football player and also Ukraine international, definitely was supposed to be part of the Arsenal team, and definitely there were heavy links. If you have been following football, if you did follow the general transfer window, almost everything was about him moving to the club Arsenal. And the tabloids were not wrong, because Arsenal went on and had talks one-on-one with Mikhail Mudryk. But the amount that Shakhtar Donetsk wanted for Mikhail Mudryk was quite high, £100 million. But instead of doing negotiations with Shakhtar Donetsk, there came in a big man in the game, and this was Chelsea with quite a lot of money, and they said, "Oh, we're giving you £100 million. That's what we're giving you." And definitely he ended up leaving, not going to the club Arsenal, and that wasn't quite great. And this is something that is being trying to be done again with Arsenal's target, and that is the Brighton and Hove football player Moises Caicedo. Definitely, that is not the best of things. I think I think Chelsea should get into a system where they are seeing their own football players, not hijacking the football players. They should look for football players, do proper scouting, and get quite good football players. I mean, with all that squad that Chelsea has, with all that talent that Chelsea has, they still do not come in top four. It is quite ununderstandable. But the fact that they've got quite a good manager, they've got a new manager, possibly they will be able to compete. Let's wait and see where this all goes. But for Moises Caicedo as a football player, his preference has always been the club Arsenal, and that's why we say Arsenal stand the biggest of chances of signing Moises Caicedo, with Chelsea ready to give out quite a bit of money, a lot of money. I mean, it's £80 million that Brighton and Hove has slapped onto this transfer. Brighton and Hove is saying no £80 million, no Moises Caicedo. But it will be remembered that this can be negotiable. But we have to also put into consideration that it can be negotiable if Chelsea is not putting in this stupid amount of money. Because when you see already Chelsea has spent quite a lot of money. They spent over 600 million pound in the last summer transfer window and January transfer window. Just a small period of time, they've spent over 600 million pound. That's quite a lot of money. FFP rules are definitely out saying you need to sell some football players before you do anything. You do not need to buy, and that's something that Arsenal has to put in consideration and say before they can splash out any money, we need to get a few football players, get some deals done of them. Because they are looking at a period of selling, they've got to sell quite a few football players, and we've got quite a lot that's coming in from Chelsea. So Arsenal as a football club should use that definitely, because they have got a lot of financial problems. Chelsea as a football club, FFP rules are getting them. They are definitely not at the right side with FFP rules. And that's why Arsenal as a football club should definitely use this as a weapon and get football players off Chelsea and also get Chelsea's targets. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Hijacking. Anyway, let's see how this all goes. But by the look of things, again, Moises Caicedo is not so much into the move to the club Chelsea, and Arsenal stand as the favourites for this Moises Caicedo transfer move. Anyway, we've talked about Ilkay Gundogan, we've talked about Moises Caicedo, and right about now, I think it should be okay for us to talk about yet another football player who has been also making quite a big number of rounds, and he is none other than Mohamed Diab. So, let's talk about Mohamed Diab and him moving to the club Arsenal. So it will be remembered that Mohamed Diab is a French professional football player who plays as a winger for Bundesliga club Bayer Leverkusen, and he's been playing there from Bayer Leverkusen for quite a big period of time. You'll remember that he's still young, he's 23 years of age, and definitely him as a winger, that's what Arsenal needs. With Arsenal saying that they are going to be offloading some football players, we definitely know that they are going to be buying some football players. It's not about selling only. We could be seeing big names moving out of the club Arsenal, as we already have heard about a few exits. Definitely, I'll be giving you who is leaving the club very soon. That will come at last, I think. I'll be telling you who's most likely going to be leaving the club, who is linked to an exit. But right about now, before anything, what Arsenal is trying to do is make sure that they get a few landings, a few signings before anybody can leave the club. Because Arsenal has class, and class has to be replaced by class. Anyway, let's wait and see how this goes. But it is reportedly said that Mohamed Diab, who is a winger for Bayer Leverkusen and also has been linked to the club Arsenal, and also is a French professional football player, has had talks with the club Arsenal about this transfer, and so far so good. All is going on quite well, and it is reportedly said that personal terms for Mohamed Diab have already been agreed. So let's wait and see how this all goes. But Mohamed Diab could be a great deal at the club Arsenal, and if Arsenal can have him, definitely that will be a good thing. So we also need to see statistics of Mohamed Diab. How has he been playing? Let's just see the last season. As a winger, he's managed to score 9 goals in 33 appearances and made 8 assists. Definitely that is okay for a football player in Bayer Leverkusen. And once he crosses over and goes to a club with Ben White and the likes of Bukayo Saka, Smith Rowe, definitely Alexander Zinchenko, playing around such great football players, definitely performance also increases. And that's why we are saying that it's going to be massive. It's going to be something good for the club It's going to be something good for the club Arsenal, but not only for Arsenal, but also for Moises Diab, as it is well said that he is most likely going to end up at the club Arsenal. Let us know what you think about this gentleman, what you think about him moving to the club, and his release clause is £43 million. Do you think Arsenal should pay £43 million for this football player, as Arsenal are not the leading, they could be the leading, but are not the only club that are interested in the football player. He is interested. He's brought quite a bit of interest from other clubs, but the main clubs that are interested in this football player are two other more, and that is Manchester United and then Newcastle United. Both teams are interested in him, but by the look of things and from what we can get from different sources, the club Arsenal is still leading in this transfer. Arsenal could definitely be getting the football player. But as right about now, as it stands, we can confirm to you, I can tell you, it's not yet a done deal. Nothing has been concluded just as yet for Moises Diab, but he stands quite a big chance. He definitely stands quite a big chance with him going to the club Arsenal. Let us know what you definitely think about him moving to the club Arsenal, Moises Diab, and let's get yet to another football player, and we are definitely going to be talking about Romeo Lavia. So Romeo Lavia has been making rounds recently. You already know that Romeo Lavia, who is quite a very wonderful one. He's been playing very well for Southampton, doesn't he? And the fact that Southampton is definitely relegated, that also brings in quite a lot. So let's talk about Romeo Lavia. So Romeo Lavia is a Belgian professional football player who plays as a defensive midfielder for EFL Championship club. Right about now, that's why we should call it EFL Championship club Southampton and the Belgium national team, and he's been playing on there for a little bit of time. He's still a very young football player, and definitely 19 years of age. You can tell that he's got quite a big future ahead of him, and I think he's doing great. He's definitely doing a very good job. He's been doing a good job at Southampton, but Southampton was relegated, so the chance of him moving to the club, the chance of him moving to the club Arsenal is definitely very high. I mean, Southampton definitely need to offload some football players because the wage bill is going to be quite big for them if they do not, and they've got to adhere with FFP rules. So a lot of football players are going to be moving away from Southampton, and Romeo Lavia is definitely one of them. And as I've told you, Arsenal have strong and concrete interest in Romeo Lavia, and things definitely have been going on quite well between both parties. And as it stands per now, Arsenal are the one club that are very much interested in Romeo Lavia, with also Manchester United showing a bit of competition from Arsenal's 19-year-old relegated superstar, and that is Romeo Lavia. Let us know what you think about this gentleman and him moving to the club Arsenal. Do you think he should be going to the club Arsenal, or you think that it could be yet another wasted opportunity? Anyway, let's see what will definitely go on. Nothing concluded for him, but heavy links on there. So we've talked about Romeo Lavia, and we'll be talking about Kai Havertz, and there's quite big news for Kai Havertz. Let's talk about, we've talked about Romeo Lavia, Declan Rice, not yet. Let's get into the Declan Rice transfer before we get to yet another one. Let's talk about Declan Rice, and let me see if we've got Lavia, we've got Ilkay Gundogan, but we've not talked about Mark Guehi. Let's talk about let's talk about Declan Rice. So you'll be remembered that Declan Rice is an English professional football player who plays for West Ham as a defensive midfielder. With the fact that there's been quite a lot of links, he's been linked to quite a big number of clubs, and Declan Rice is a hot cake right about now. As we speak, Declan Rice is haunted for by a big number of clubs. But, you know, for some reason, English football players are always quite expensive, and his price is definitely quite high. He's okay. He's a very good football player, but his price is high. West Ham United are saying that they need £120 million for him. Definitely, that's quite a lot of money. And that sent off Bayern Munich, which was very interested in him. That definitely sent Bayern Munich off. Bayern Munich is out of this competition. And definitely, this leaves the competition with, it actually is between two big football clubs. Again, Manchester United and Arsenal, who is going to take him. But I will be remembered that Arsenal are the leading favorites for this transfer, with all these links that are definitely taking place. What is hindering this transfer to take place, him going to Arsenal, is only one thing: the price. West Ham need definitely to lower the price. Arsenal put in a bid that was immediately rejected. £80 million bid for Declan Rice, and West Ham said, no way, we're not taking that amount of money. We need quite a bit more. We need £120 million. But Arsenal is not prepared to pay £120 million for any football player, because when you see how much Arsenal has been spending on football players, we all know that the highest amount of money Arsenal has spent on a football player was £72 million, and that was on Nicolas Pepe. After that, there's not been any amount that has exceeded that. That is the record. That's the record amount that was paid by the club Arsenal, and the fact that the Arsenal was willing to break its record again and make sure that it pays £80 million. That shows you how desperate the club is to get this football player. But reports are saying that Arsenal is preparing a second bid for the gentleman, and they have already had talks with him, and Arsenal is preparing the second bid of something close to £100 million. And once they get this in, I don't think West Ham will be in a position of rejecting this amount of money, £100 million. I mean, Real Madrid also wanted the football player, but he's not quite interested in going away from the Premier League. Manchester City, Manchester United. With Manchester United, there was quite a big something in there about Manchester United and him going to Manchester United. But it's quite, I don't think it really counts, really. Manchester United was looking at a swap with Harry Maguire, but I don't think West Ham will take it right about now, because they were looking at a swap and some more money, but I don't think that transfer is going to happen. That is definitely out. It's not going to happen. The main club that is in the picture is Arsenal, and Arsenal alone. Arsenal definitely are the favorites for the Declan Rice transfer. Not yet a done deal, but we could say possibly give it a 90% a done deal. Anyway, Declan Rice, already how he's been playing, is definitely been playing quite well, with the fact that quite a number of clubs have been interested in him. That shows you how good a football player he definitely is. We've talked about Declan Rice, and we think Declan Rice could end up at the club Arsenal, as very many as football analysts have been talking about Declan Rice's move to the club Arsenal. Anyway, let's talk about Marc Guehi before we move to some great news from Kai Havertz. Marc Guehi. Have you heard about Marc Guehi? Do you know who Marc Guehi is? Anyway, I'm going to be giving to you the latest from Marc Guehi and his move to the club Arsenal. Let me tell you who this gentleman is. Anyway, Marc Guehi is an English professional football player who plays as a centre-back for Premier League club Crystal Palace and the English national team. You will be remembered that Marc Guehi came through the youth system at Chelsea before spending 2 seasons on loan at Swansea City. And this football player has had quite links again between two clubs, Manchester United and Arsenal. Arsenal came in just of recently. He's been linked to the club Manchester United for some time, but Arsenal came in and said, you are too good a football player. You definitely need to be at the club Arsenal. And there's not quite a lot to talk about him, But £50 million is what the club Crystal Palace is saying they definitely need for the superstar. But the fact that he's been playing quite well, the 22-year-old could be moving to the club if Arsenal are willing to pay the £50 million. We do not expect personal terms to be a problem. They shouldn't be a problem at all. Anyway, he's not yet signed, but there are still chances that he's going to sign. Let's then get to yet another one, Kai Havertz. We've got great news from Kai Havertz. Anyway, let us know what you think about Kai Havertz and his move to the club Arsenal. Let's talk about Kai Havertz. Let's see where should I start from for Kai Havertz. I've got quite a lot of information about Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz, who's a German professional football player and also plays for the club Chelsea, has had quite a bit of links. Not a bit, a lot of links. Right about now, the latest that I've got about Kai Havertz is that Kai Havertz has already agreed a move to the club Arsenal. He's already agreed a move. Personal terms are not a problem whatsoever. He wants a move away from Chelsea. He's badly demanding for a move from Chelsea. He doesn't want to be at the club Chelsea. And Real Madrid were interested in him. They are out of the picture because £75 million is what the club Chelsea want for him. And Real Madrid say they're not paying that amount of money. They're out of the transfer. The club Arsenal is very interested in him and willing to pay quite a bit of money. Though Arsenal say that they need an amount of money, Arsenal say they need to pay an amount of money that is around £50 million or less for him. And the club Chelsea, at first, they were definitely thinking, they were saying they're not going to be taking in any amount that is close to that amount of money. But then by the fact that FFP rules are on their side, they're looking at also selling some football players. And this is where Arsenal is using the chance to get this football player quite cheap. So, Kai Havertz's personal terms with Arsenal shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. It is even reportedly said that he's already agreed personal terms with the club Arsenal. So he's away on international duty, but once he comes back, it is reportedly that once he is back from personal duty, he's going to sign the deal there and then. I'll still be here to bring to you the latest as it comes in. And I think it will be a great thing if he moves to the club Arsenal. Anyway, let's see who is linked to an exit of the club, as we've been talking about. All that has been about football players who are definitely going to be joining the club. Let's talk a little bit about exits. Who could be leaving the club? Smith Rowe is said to stay after Arteta's assurance. Mikel Arteta assured us that Smith Rowe is definitely going nowhere. Balogun talks are definitely on hold. Balogun is a very good football player, and there could be a chance that he is going to be staying at the club, as he's been on loan and he's performed quite well. And Arsenal are looking and thinking, we're not putting you on loan. There is a big possibility that you could perform magic here. And Arsenal is definitely saying there is a big chance for Balogun playing for the first squad once the season begins. But also, they are exploring, seeing which teams are available to take him. If there is a potential team that can give quite a substantial amount of money for Balogun, we could see Arsenal definitely sending off this gentleman. Anyway, yet another football player that we are talking about is Nicolas Pepe and Cedric. Both of these football players definitely set for an exit. Cedric set for an exit and Nicolas Pepe set for an exit. And then Granit Xhaka also is also set for an exit of the club. And there's yet another football player who left. Who left? Maitland-Niles. Maitland-Niles has already left the club Arsenal. Anyway, let us know what you definitely think about this, about the football players whom you think that are going to be coming to this club, to the club Arsenal. Otherwise, thank you for being part and thank you for being a very good audience. I love you. I love you very, very much. We've been talking sports. We've definitely been talking quite a lot about these football players. Which football player do you want the most? You can go into the comment section and you can let us know which football player you definitely think should be at the club Arsenal by fair or foul means. Is it Kai Havertz? Is it Declan Rice? Is it Mark Guehi? Who? Is it Romeo Lavia? Who? Let us know whom you definitely need to know. Need to be at the club. Moises Diab, all these football players, all of them that have been linked to the club Arsenal. You can definitely let us know whom you think is the suitest, who suits in at the club Arsenal very, very well. I think it's going to be quite good news. It's going to be a very good summer transfer season for the club Arsenal. As you already know, that things have definitely already been going on quite well. Finishing in the second position, Arsenal needs to adjust and finish in the first position in the next season. Let's see how all this goes. Thank you for being a great audience and thank you for being part of this podcast. As I tell you, my name is Abu Kals. Thank you for being part of the Arsenal chapter right about here at the Imminent and Done Deals. All you need to do is subscribe and ring that notification bell. Thank you and goodbye for now.